Hello everyone, welcome to my YouTube channel. My name is Mercedes and today I'm going to share with you my experience of reading thriller for 7 days straight. So what really kicked this binge off for me is I have been in a bit of a book slump. I was for a while reading a lot of romance. I feel like as a reader, I go through phases where I'm reading a lot of fantasy, or I'm reading a lot of romance, or I'm reading a lot of thriller, and it's been a while since I have read a lot of thriller. So in my heart, I felt a book slump coming on. So I was like, let me just switch genres. And the first book that I read when I switched genres was Have You Seen Sarah Baker by T.A. Cruz. And when I read this book, I was like, hell yes. When I think of a thriller or a suspense, I think this book. I even made a murder board when I was reading this book because I was so invested into the storyline. By the end of this book, I gave it 5 stars. It was absolutely incredible. And the only logical thing I can do after I finish reading a genre that I love is go and binge more of that genre. I did read 6 books during this week, and I have 1 book that is only on audio. I don't have the physical copy of. We started this journey reading Behind Closed Doors by B.A. Paris. This is day 1. Day 1, we are going to start with Behind Closed Doors by B.A. Paris. I know that this book is more of a popular book. I did discover it through book talk or thriller talk or whatever talk on the TikTok. I decided I was going to read this last night whenever I was on live with AJ Nicole and Inky and Bookish and everyone else who was on that live. I had 3 options. This was the winner. And I was kind of tempted to read another book in my stack that I have over here, but I know that if I'm 20 pages in, if I don't read it now, any motivation I have to read this book will cease to exist. I'm 20 pages in, as I keep saying, but I don't know how I'm gonna feel about it. This book also gets a bonus point because it is on Kindle Unlimited, so that means that I can read it on my Kindle. It pretty much lays the plot out to you straight out the gate. It gives it to you. So like, I'm only at 30% and we're here. So I don't know what's going to happen or where it's going. I think there's going to be a murder by the end of the book, or someone's going to get double-crossed. I am 60% into Behind Closed Doors by B.A. Paris, and I'm gonna be so honest, I think this book is alright. I think I have the ending figured out. I think it is a little predictable. I'm going to finish reading it right now, and if I'm completely honest, at this point in the book, I'm kind of just skimming through. I don't know if it was because I was coming off of a high from Have You Seen Sarah Baker by T.A. Cruz and then I read this book, but I just found this book to be predictable and there was no suspense. We knew what was going to happen within the first 40 pages of the book. Everything about this book missed the mark for me, and I gave it 2 stars, and that's just simply because I did finish the book. What would have made this book better for me is if we didn't know literally what was going to happen in the first 40 pages. But then I went and read String Follow by Simon Jacobs. Now, I didn't know anything about this book. I saw it at the bookstore and I was like, that looks creepy. I'm gonna buy it, and I did. Can I have a moment of honesty with you? I am 13 pages into this book. Okay, here's my thing. I don't think I like the narration of the book, the way it's written, because there's certain points where I don't know who the narrator is. So it says here, so the Monday after we found him, an angsty day at the end of March, David texted Sarah. Who the fuck is we? Who's talking? Who's talking right now? Step forward. Who is it? I know you're like, Mercedes, you just bought this book on your Kindle and you just bought the paperback, and are you really going to stop reading it after 13 pages? Yeah, girl, I am. I want to read something. I want to read something like it's gonna be I want to just be like, what? That's the book I'm going for. I could not get into this book. I ultimately did DNF it. I couldn't even tell you what it is, really. I think it's just the writing style of it. What's also very interesting about this book is it doesn't have chapters. Or the chapters are super incredibly long. Like, there's no numbered chapters. There are parts in the book where it does have like a different heading at the beginning of what I'm assuming the chapter is. But all of this is chapter 1, which according to my Kindle would have taken an hour and 30 minutes to get through. Which, you know, is a little bit of a jump scare. I think I literally only got to page 20 in this book. And by the time I got to page 20, I was like, wait, I don't even know what's happening right now. And I don't think I care to continue, so I didn't. Next up, we have How to Sell a Haunted House by Grady Hendrix. The dedication says, Amanda, you are with me everywhere. I see you where I go. You surround me always, even though I know exactly where I buried you. Is it spooky? I mean, haunted house is literally in the title of the book. Yeah. Another DNF. I, at this point, was questioning, is it me? Am I the problem? Or are we still going to blame Have You Seen Sarah Baker by T.A. Cruz? Because that book was just so good. And now I'm reading books like this. Like, they just don't compare. If anything, it just made me angry because I DNF'd it around, I think, like 50% of the way through. And all that's happening in the plot up to this point is the two siblings arguing. The only thing that I was liking about this book was the main female character, but even then she started to be weird and she started to like change personality halfway through the book, and I didn't love it. And then I listened to The Only One Left on audio. Now, I do typically have trouble listening to thriller books on audio, but when I posted about this book in a book haul, everyone was like, The Only One Left is really good on audio. You have to listen to it on audio. So I'm going to take your advice, and I did listen to it on audio, and it is one of the better thriller audio listens. I feel like I've said audio so many times. I am listening to this over on audio. I think one thing that is keeping me engaged is the narrators. They're doing a great job, and it is a dual narration, and the narrators are Christina Latkin and Dawn Harvey. It's okay. So far it's okay. It's pretty slow pace. Obviously, there's tons of secrets everywhere, right? Trying to piece it together. I still have my same theory that I had before that has something to do with the workers. What is really going to sway this book for me is the ending and how it all comes together. Because right now I'm like right in the middle. It's pretty standard for a thriller read, and I don't know. How it ends is going to sway how I feel about it in the end. I ultimately give this book 4 stars. I was a little bit bored in the beginning, leading into halfway, but towards the end it did definitely pick up, and the ending of the book was crazy. By the end of this book, I was finally happy to have a 4-star read. Like, I was happy. I was like, oh my god, we've made it to where I want to be. We're here. And I have another book that I want to read, which was Ghost Eater. Now, if you look at the cover of this book, just take a second. I know it's kind of creepy and you don't want to look it in the eyes, but just take a second and look at it. You think that this book is going to be creepy. You think this book is going to be so unsettling. Maybe that's my bad for judging a book by the cover. You know, they say not to do that, but the title of the book is Ghost Eater, and that's on the cover. I think I'm going to shit myself when I read this book. I have made it to part 2, which is around page 80, and I want to say, like, the build-up is everything. Not only the build-up, but also setting the scene in my mind so I comprehend the characters. It has built a good foundation. Do I know where it's going? No. And that's because I don't read the description of the book or the synopsis or nothing. I just go in completely blind. I didn't shit myself when I read this book. No. In my heart, I want to give it 3 stars. But I did go on Goodreads and I did read some of the other reviews on this book, and I see where everyone's coming from. So I'm giving it a sympathy half star. So overall, I would give it a 3.5. I said that the beginning built a really good foundation. The potential in this book was there, but it died. It got murdered. It got punched right down in the face, steamrolled, like slammed down to the ground because everything got to be like a little bit too much. There were so many plot lines happening in this book. Some of them just didn't contribute to the plot at all. Some of the character development didn't make sense to me. Some of the characters in the story didn't make sense to me. There was definitely some points in the book that were so unsettling that like made you want to read like this. And I wish that would have stayed consistent throughout the whole book, but it seemed like there was just so many different storylines happening that it was all hard to follow along with. And the writing is a bit interesting. So I know that the main character who is telling this story, or who this story is in the perspective of, is kind of jumbled brain. And I will say that that did translate into the writing. The writing does come off very scattered. And I do enjoy that when authors do that because it kind of puts you in the headspace of the character. But I just, at some point, it got to be a little too unhinged. And I would maybe recommend this. Like, I don't know. You might enjoy it. I can't be the one to say. You'll have to figure that one out for yourself. But I would give it 3.5 sympathy points. Stars. So the next book, I only listened to it on audio. I did try to find the physical copy of. Most of the time when it comes to my book consumption, I like to have the physical book for sure. I love to have the physical book, and then I'll either buy an audio copy of the book or a Kindle copy of the book. Bonus points if it is on Kindle Unlimited. So this book is Incidents Around the House. I don't know if you guys can see this, but I have 4 hours left of this audiobook. Holy shit. The audiobook is absolutely phenomenal. So far it's about a haunting essentially, and I feel like I know where it's going. Like the spirit wants something because things are getting more aggressive and there's 4 hours left. Now what's very interesting about the plot of this book is it is told through a child's perspective. She's 8 years old, and the narrator I at first wasn't sure if it was an actual child narrating this book. She did such a good job. The narrator's name is Delaney Nicole Gill. She did such an amazing job with the narrating of the child. She sounded like a child, and at some points in the storyline, I gaslit myself into believing that the narrator was a child, and I had to Google her age. She's 18. So, you know, she did such a good job. Another book that started with such good potential. And here's where I started to get annoyed with the plot. Oh my god. I don't know if it's me. I don't know if it's me going through something right now, or if we're going to blame Have You Seen Sarah Baker by T.A. Cruz, because that book was just so good. Like, the whole concept of the book being narrated through the child's POV was super interesting in the beginning. But then we get like halfway through the book, and I wish that there would have been an adult perspective. Like if we would have got the mom's point of view, or the dad's point of view, or the grandma's point of view, literally anyone else's point of view. I think that that would have added an extra layer of thriller that I needed. Now this book is creepy. It is creepy a little bit towards the end. It did get a little slow paced. It lost its stamina just a little bit, and I wish that there would have been another perspective in there. If that was the case, this would have been a 5-star read for me, but I would give it 4 stars. It was pretty spooky, and if I think about it really hard, no thank you, I don't want that. No, we don't want that. But it's not my favorite, but I would recommend it to you, and I would give it 4 stars overall. Now that I have finished my thriller binge, I feel like I could use a little romance in my life. So I'm going to be reading the Chestnut Spring series by Elsie Silver, and I do plan on doing some sort of reading vlog, so keep an eye out for that. Now listen, I want to have the best thriller recommendations for you coming up for this next spooky season. I also want to have just cozy fall recs coming up. Now if you have a thriller in mind, if you've been watching this video and you're like, oh my god, she wants thriller, I got a thriller for her, please comment it down below. I will read it. Thank you guys for watching this whole video. I really appreciate it. I love hanging out with you guys, and this is my first time filming anything like this, so I'm excited to see where this goes. That's all I have for you today. Okay, bye. Love you.